AI doesn't imitate cinema anymore. It replaces it. 2026 may be remembered as the year AI stopped imitating cinema and started replacing it. In February, reports began circulating about Seedance 2.0, a new cinematic AI video system connected to TikTok's ecosystem. At first, it sounded like the next logical step in content creation. Generate cinematic video with synchronized sound, with dynamic camera movement, with natural voice delivery. But then came something far more controversial, a feature that, according to industry insiders, had to be suspended for risk evaluation. And that's where this story becomes bigger than TikTok. Seedance 2.0 was marketed as a breakthrough in AI filmmaking. Unlike earlier AI tools that generated silent clips or robotic narration, this system promised something closer to real cinema. Full scenes, natural pacing, ambient sound, emotionally aligned voice output. For creators, this meant one thing: Hollywood-level production without a film crew, lighting setups, camera tracking, dialogue generation, sound design, all from prompts. That alone would have disrupted the creator economy. But what triggered concern wasn't just the cinematic realism, it was an experimental capability tied to voice. According to early technical discussions, Seedance 2.0 explored predictive voice synthesis based purely on facial analysis, not from uploaded voice samples, not from recordings, but from the face itself. The system would analyze facial structure, age indicators, muscle tension patterns, and visual cues. Then estimate vocal characteristics such as pitch range, cadence, and tonal texture. In other words, a synthetic voice inferred from appearance. If fully realized, this would represent a fundamental shift. Because this is not voice cloning, this is voice prediction. Imagine uploading a single image and receiving back a fully animated video with dialogue, with a voice that sounds convincingly human, without ever recording audio. That is not just content automation, that is digital identity modeling. Soon after internal testing discussions surfaced, questions began spreading through tech policy circles. Can a system simulate a person's voice without their consent? Does facial data imply vocal ownership? Could predictive voice modeling enable impersonation at scale? TikTok has not publicly confirmed detailed technical specifics. However, reports indicated that one experimental voice-related pathway was paused pending internal review. And that pause suggests caution, because once such tools go public, reversing their impact becomes nearly impossible. Here's the broader reality. AI video generation is no longer controversial. Voice cloning technology already exists, but merging visual analysis with automated voice generation without explicit voice samples, that introduces a new category of risk. Modern multimodal AI systems process images, text, audio, and video simultaneously. They learn correlations, statistical relationships, patterns across modalities. It isn't magic, it's probability at massive scale. And when probability becomes believable, distinction becomes irrelevant. These systems are trained on enormous datasets linking facial expressions, age groups, cultural signals, and vocal patterns. They don't know a person's voice, they estimate it. But in media, estimation only needs to be convincing, not perfect. Convincing is enough to reshape perception. We've already witnessed how synthetic faces have influenced political narratives. We've seen fabricated speeches, AI-generated influencers, hyper-realistic scenarios that never occurred. Adding predictive voice reduces yet another verification layer. Before you could argue, at least they need a voice sample. Now, that safeguard may no longer apply. The real issue is not capability, it is scale. TikTok's platform operates at massive global reach. If cinematic AI video generation integrates directly into everyday content creation, the boundary between recorded footage and synthetic production collapses. For creators, this is empowerment. For regulators, it is acceleration. Supporters argue that Seedance 2.0 represents democratization. Independent creators with no budget can now produce cinematic narratives, dynamic lighting simulations, scene continuity, emotionally tuned dialogue. This lowers entry barriers dramatically, and that is genuinely transformative. But transformation always carries dual consequences. The suspended feature, if fully implemented, would move beyond replication. Deepfakes copy. Predictive identity modeling creates. It generates an approximation of how someone might sound based on how they appear. And once content is indistinguishable from filmed reality, audiences adapt. Viewers no longer ask, "Was this filmed?" They begin asking, "Was this generated?" That shift changes media literacy forever. Across the United States, Europe, and Asia, AI identity legislation is evolving rapidly. Questions now extend beyond image ownership. They reach into biometric inference. Does a face imply vocal data? Does predicted identity fall under consent law? These are no longer theoretical debates. They are active policy discussions. At the center of this conversation lies trust. When cinematic realism becomes automated and audio feels authentic by default, effort becomes invisible. Craft becomes synthetic. Reality becomes aesthetic. And aesthetic becomes reality. Once audiences accept that any cinematic moment can be generated instantly, verification shifts from assumption to skepticism, and skepticism reshapes trust. So why suspend a feature? Because platforms understand one irreversible truth. Once mass adoption begins, regulation lags behind. If predictive voice generation spread unchecked, correction mechanisms would arrive too late. That temporary suspension is not necessarily an admission of wrongdoing. It may be recognition of scale. Seedance 2.0 is not inherently dangerous. It is powerful, and power amplifies intention. Used responsibly, it could redefine storytelling. Used recklessly, it could redefine identity. This is not simply a TikTok update, it is a signal of direction. AI video systems are evolving faster than legal frameworks, faster than cultural adaptation, faster than public awareness. And every advancement reduces friction. When friction disappears, distribution accelerates. The deeper question is not whether AI can create cinema. It already can. The question is whether we are prepared for a world where your image can imply a voice you never recorded, where cinematic realism is no longer evidence of authenticity. Technology continues forward, but trust evolves slowly. And in the space between innovation and regulation, decisions matter. This is Intelligenziate. If you want to understand where artificial intelligence is heading, not just the breakthroughs, but the consequences, subscribe. Because the future is no longer being filmed. It's being generated.